It's your anniversary with her. You're straight. Fuck off. Are ya?
With that tote bag? Thank you for participating in this lovely social experiment.
We're here. We're queer. Let's go, baby. Hi, bitches. How are you?
Having these spaces and these venues, like, people seem to take it for granted, when the reality of the situation is, think about how many queer venues even before the lockdown were closing and shutting down and just couldn't fund themselves. Without those spaces, this show doesn't exist, that platform doesn't exist, you don't have the entertainment, and you don't have the safe spaces that we all need.
It's Netflix UK's I Like to Watch with none other than the delicious The Vivian and the beautiful Blue Hydrangea!
Drag kings are at the forefront of the radical nature of drag, but drag in and of itself is like a radical political act, right? And, you know, just at Stonewall, when it was a trans woman who was at the front and lesbians that were, like, very key, again, people have been sidelined, and I think we shouldn't forget that there's an entire community of drag that we're not seeing represented in the mainstream media.
Supporting the leaders of the dance. Just because a queen hasn't been on Drag Race doesn't mean they're less valid than anybody else.
Check that together. Oh, you look beautifully there.
Oh, fab.
That's just work.
Well, here we are, back on the road, back on tour, back out with the girls. I'm so excited. I'm really actually buzzing. And it's not just like any old show. We're just sitting, watching some good telly and some good movies and just having a good old bitch, really. Yes! I did horse riding lessons as a child, and I kid you not.
Go on, tell me what I had to stop.
I'm still, like, finding my feet, touring and travelling post-Panny Dem. Like, I've just been missing human contact and interactions and people. If I could summarise Shez's vision when it comes to a garment, it is literally feathers, rhinestones and hope and a dream. And don't ask me to make it, because we all know how that turns out.
One of the double edges of the Drag Race sword is that, you know, people expect drag queens to look like supermodels now, and that is very far from the truth. You know, some of the best queens in the country, Miss Jason, I mean, she won't mind me saying, she looks like your nan. But we will have the best night ever watching Miss Jason in a bar in Brighton than you maybe would somebody who is painted immaculately, who's never been on stage in their life. I don't care what you look like as a drag queen. I would rather go and watch a 60-year-old fella in a bin bag with blue eyeshadow up to his eyebrows. As long as they're entertaining, I couldn't give a shit. I like to look nice, but for me, that's not the be-all and end-all of drag.
When I go shopping, I tend to get stuff for me out of drag. So, like, really look after the person that's behind the mask. People often don't see that side. And for me, I'm not very much a character in drag. I'm just like me with an IV of Red Bull. So, like, I'm still the same person, but I also forget that you are allowed to look out for yourself. And I used to feel tremendous guilt every time I treated myself to something out of drag, because I'm like, this is money that you should be putting back into your work. And it's like, actually, hold a second. You can treat yourself.
Very excited for tonight. I can't wait. Been building it up all week. It's like, oh, it's nearly here. And I haven't seen the Vivian since before she went on RuPaul. That was the last time she was here, just when it was announced.
Thank you, Duncan. I'm not paying for that. I'm gonna pop this here. A big thank you to Duncan as well. He's the
I'm Duncan Bales and I own Sundowners. It's the only LGBTQ bar in Margate, and for quite a area around. Well, before I had this, I was digging worms on the beach and the opportunity to come up to borrow some money and have a change of career.
I think you could probably mention his name to any of the bars, restaurants around here, and they know exactly who you're talking about. He is the kind of beating heart of Sundowners behind you and the true kind of personality that you kind of need. Not just the LGBT community really locally, I think kind of everyone sees Sundown as that kind of friendly local kind of place that anyone and everyone kind of just comes in, has a drink and can socialise with whoever they want.
I felt through lockdown there was times when I didn't know whether I wanted to carry on or whether to walk away with what you're running up in debts. It's like, how do you make it work? Because the trouble is you didn't know how long it was going to go on for. We were closed in, November the 6th, and we were told it was 4 weeks, and we didn't reopen until the 12th of April.
No one knew what the future was going to hold, and they were like, we don't know how we're going to pay our bills, we don't know how we're going to do this, we're going to know how to do that.
But we're not London, we haven't got a big scene with money and that, you know. If you were in London, some of the big bars there got arts council funding and stuff that, as a small provincial LGBT bar, we didn't get. With the amount of people that have said since, they were so worried that we wouldn't survive and they would have nowhere to go after, and that makes you realise just how important you are to the community. The first night we opened in July, just to see people being able to dance again. We'd spent all summer telling people to sit down every time they got up to try and dance, and to actually see people get up and dance again and hug each other. I think, I don't know, it was quite amazing, really, quite emotional in one way, and people were.
Margate, are you ready?
Yeah, I think we'll still be here for a few more years. Can't afford to retire now.
For a lot of drag queens, it's the place where they come into being. It's the place where you first discover aspects about yourself. It's where you find your freedom. They really are the places where you can start to explore and play with identity, but also start to explore and play with creativity. And it's through that nexus of relationships you find in smaller bars that amazing things are allowed to grow. And I think we all think of drag in the big lights and in the big cities. And I think the truth is, to create really, really interesting drag, it has to be enmeshed in that kind of almost familial community relationships. It takes a lot of love to grow. Fabulous.
Now, can I just remind you all, he is 12 years old. So where's your mum? Can I just say, he is fabulous. Thank you so much for being an amazing parent, because the work needs more eyes. And honestly, there are children and young trans people and loads of people from our community who are getting ostracised from their family every single day. And for you to be such an amazing, supportive parent is really amazing. So thank you.
At school tomorrow, everybody.
Have you got school? Oh, fuck off. Can you call in sick?
Oh, the history of the New Foresters is absolutely amazing. It's the oldest gay bar in Nottingham, going back to 1938, which is fantastic to find that they've found evidence of gay people coming into here. A couple of weeks ago, we had a marquee outside in the car park because of the COVID. And I was watching over the marquee and I saw this young lad crying. He was only about 18, 19. And I saw all his friends, all male friends around him with their arms around him. Now, I'm a landlady who will go and communicate with my customers and make sure that they're okay. So I could see that he wasn't very happy, I thought. So I went over and basically asked him, and his mate says to me, do you know something? Because you provided this safe place, he's just come out to all his workmates. I've got no children, so I was really proud. You know, I just thought, you know, we provided that. And I just thought that was amazing. That's the whole reason, isn't it, of us being here?
Well, I moved to Liverpool when I was 16, and I was working behind a bar at 16, illegally. But it was those queer venues that Vivian was born. You know, when you're young and you come out and you feel, you know, a lot of people are kicked out at home, so they've got no family to turn to. So the fact that they can come to places like this and realise that, oh my God, I'm actually going to be fine. All right, my family have kicked me out, but I've just found a huge family globally that are always going to have my back.
Nottingham, happy birthday. Wash your hair.
Happy birthday to you.
For health and safety reasons.
Come on, blow it. Oh, look at that.
I went to uni in Nottingham and lived here for 5 years, so it's got a massive place in my heart, and I'm really excited to be back. We are about to go into the Nottingham New Theatre, which is the only student-run theatre in England. Thank you very much. I love it. It's where I spent all my time and learned all about sort of performance and things like that. So it's kind of had a big impact on my life now and my drag.
Wake up in the morning thinking we need more. We need more space, we need more storage, we need more support. We need events to make societies open for all. Whether you live on Sutton Bonington or in Sherwood Hall. I'm talking about what?
Hello.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hi,
I'm
Tia.
the president of the NNT currently.
Oh, lovely. That's nice. You're the Lawrence Chaney of the New Theatre. That's great.
What, from your experience at the NNT, have you kind of carried forward with you into drag?
Well, I actually started drag because I put on a musical where there was a drag role in it.
Amazing, amazing.
And then I decided I wanted to do that show. So put it on myself in London, cast myself in the role. And then someone just said that I should start doing it and enter a competition.
Amazing.
And then fast forward however many years and Drag Race and all of that kind of thing. Oh, but this is the best moment. It's like all singing, all dancing Eurovision with actual Eurovision contestants. This is like, oh, my full idea of heaven.
Welcome back.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a separate room.
I know.
It was only like this bit before. Oh, this is great. It's very well organised. Okay, I'm not kidding. That's why I wanted to come in here. I fully wrote my name on one of these. And you still got it.
We've still got it. We never throw anything away.
That's actually so mad. I was like thinking you must have got rid of it by now, but literally when I was leaving, that was the last thing that I did, was write my name on this. That's literally like 8 years ago. That's so funny. I'm absolutely gonna have to take a photo of it and send it to my friends. I know that's really sad because it's like a lighting fixture, but like they were literally my whole life while I was here. That's really cute. That's made me so happy. I think in my day-to-day life, it can be very difficult to sort of like maintain that level of like positivity and like joy within myself because like everyone has struggles and difficulties, especially off the back of like the lockdown and everything that we've gone through. Like I think people are massively underestimating the mental health impact of like the global pandemic and everything that's happened. And it's something that I really struggle with. I get so nervous before I go on stage. I get really worried that everyone's gonna think that I look bad or sound bad or all of that kind of thing. And like, it's easy for people to say like, oh, whatever, like I do this for me and like my life is my own. But also like, I absolutely don't. Like the reason why I do drag is to entertain people. So if I feel like I'm bad at that, that's gonna cause me like massive insecurity. But I think like the thing that's been amazing for me off the back of the show is like getting this like overwhelming outpouring of like love and like so many uplifting comments and things like that has made me feel so much more self-assured and given me the ability to like give that back to others.
So this is probably a little bit different to how you remember.
I mean, it's tidy.
Well, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really weird looking at all these costumes because obviously costumes are a massive part of my job, especially preparing for Drag Race.
Of course.
You have to spend a lot of time and a lot of money on outfits that the judges may or may not enjoy. So I wish I'd just come back to the New Theatre, to be honest.
Could have just nabbed a few things.
Yeah, I could have turned up in a football shirt like Bimini in the first episode. I think UK drag has definitely changed in the last few years. I feel like everyone's sort of lent in more to the fashion. I say everyone, I dressed as an ice cream cone. I think a lot of people have lent more into the fashion aspect of things. I mean, like my drag mothers and stuff like that are all much more traditional, sort of British cabaret vibes. I think if I could change one thing about drag in the UK in 2021, I just wish people were a bit funnier. Do you know what I mean? death drops aren't hilarious. Do you know what is? A 55-year-old with shit blue makeup telling jokes on stage. Great. Love that.
I think one of the frustrating things that I see in drag is the way that sometimes we are held up as these perfect images of beauty, and we're expected to be these perfect images of beauty and ambassadors of the beauty industry. And for me, the real magic of drag is the disruption of the very idea that something or one particular look is beautiful. I always say the most magical thing about drag is taking it off, and I'm very serious about that, because what makes drag special and distinct from other kinds of celebrity is the duality of it. You as an audience member understand that there is another me behind this. We show you that there is another me. You know that this presentation I'm making, whilst it is utterly a truthful expression of something that I am feeling, it is ultimately fake. You know that I take all this off at the end of the day. And if you know that I do that, and I can be given praise for looking either whether it's spectacularly beautiful or weird or ugly or strange, then you know that none of that stuff really matters, right? It's actually okay for you to not worry about the way that you look walking down the street. So I think it frustrates me sometimes when people treat drag as a new beauty craze rather than the end of beauty crazes.
Scotland is always the underdog in the UK. I think people don't always take us that seriously. They don't kind of think that we have drag. I think people are always amazed when they find out that there is drag here in Scotland. But no, the drag scene here is incredible. And I think it's so amazing that we now have the confirmation of that through a Drag Race winner, Wynton Lawrence Chaney, who is someone who started drag here in Scotland and rose through the scene, became top of the scene, and then won Drag Race.
Testing, mic check. 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I think we're good.
The Polo Lounge has been around for, I think, 30 odd years here in Glasgow. It's this gorgeous, huge building right in the Merchant City. And when I started coming out in the queer scene when I turned 18, I would come here because it was the most well-known club.
I think it's time we have a little nosy round, don't you? Let's go. Come on. Oh my God, that's right, bitches. It's you, it's me, it's us. And we're back. We are here in Club X at the Polo Lounge. And baby, you like what you see? You wanna get whipped? You wanna get spanked? Well, honey, you can get all that here. But let's do a little tour du jour and have a good time. Follow me. Right over here, I really don't know what's happening, but, oh! I don't know what's happening here, to be honest with you, but I'm getting a kind of like shoe shiny, foot fetish, licking toe jam kind of vibe. Right, now, if you look down about ankle level, you will see a big slab of wood, and I'm gonna walk it for you. Are you ready? Here we go. Drink in hand and all, because she's what? Professional. And then we take it down to the cage. Oh yes, baby. That's right. You wanna get in? You wanna get locked up? You want me to throw away the key? Maybe swallow it? I could do. For a price. But mama, this is Club X at the Polo Lounge. Be here, be queer, and who knows, if you're lucky, I might come around and spank you sometime. Yeah.
I think the best part about Polo is when you come here, you can be who you want to be. Like, you don't have to kind of hide anything. So if you want to come here and you want to wear all leather, for example, no one's going to judge you. If you want to come here and drag, no one's going to judge you. If you want to come here and wear no top, no one's going to judge you. So you can just be yourself.
It's you, it's me, it's us, it's tea and coffee, it's Netflix, it's I like to watch, bitch.
I think before lockdown, what was the queer scene like in Glasgow? It was very white male orientated, I believe. Even here in Polo, it was very like that. A lot of like the advertisement stuff was more pushed towards sort of white gay men. And I feel like having 16 months off, we really thought about it more. We sat and had chats, we thought, how can we make this more accepting? And then we brought in the whole idea of like, well, why is it just gay men? Let's make it just queer. It's an umbrella term, it's an inclusive term. You're going to see things in here that you may not see in straight venues, and you're going to realise that actually the gay community is made up of loads of tiny little things, and it's not just these set on stone what you've seen throughout the years on TV. The future of Scottish drag is, I hope personally, it's going to be more accepting for more AFAB queens definitely to come in, and more drag kings. That's what we're missing a lot of here. It doesn't just have to be men dressing as women. Drag isn't there anymore. It's not just a concept of drag queens, it's a drag artist. So I think that queen part needs to kind of come out now, and we just put artist in there and make it an open term, just like the word queer. It's an umbrella term. Like, what is drag? Do you know what I mean? It's art, it's just a bit of fun. So why does it have to be stagnant to just men?
My name's Brent Wood, WOULD, because I would anything, literally anything, especially you. Well, I've been dancing since the age of 3. That was what I started off doing, tap, ballet, jazz and singing, because my family were publicans in Wandsworth and Battersea, so we're quite a theatrical family as it is. And then probably about 2016, I took part in the Man Up competition for Drag Kings, headed up by Adam Hall and Apple Derrières, who are absolutely fantastic community leaders and performers. And so, yeah, that was where I really got into drag kinging, I should say. What I found challenging about drag is when I've been booked on lineups, and I definitely feel like I'm there as a tokenistic gesture. I feel sometimes that I'm in these environments whereby I have to try and perform in a way that other people want me to, and I don't get the same reception. So I used to do stand-up for years, just not in drag, and often I would get introduced as a female comedian, which often puts you on the back foot because people are like, what are you gonna do? And then like if you fail for every woman. Drag kings are at the forefront of the radical nature of drag, but drag in and of itself is like a radical political act, right? And you know, just at Stonewall when it was a trans woman who was at the front and lesbians that were like very key, again, people have been sidelined, and I think we shouldn't forget that there's an entire community of drag that we're not seeing represented in the mainstream media.
I want to be able to perform to audiences who've never seen a drag king before. I think that's amazing. First of all, like I remember the first time I saw my first drag king and drag queen, not at the same time, but it's a really fun like experience. You're like, what is this? You know, and I want to tell people that, you know, and just spread the word that there's more than just drag queens out there. There's like all kinds of different drag creatures. It's just kind of getting gender equality here. It's like, well, why is it that we can't do the same as drag queens? You know?
When I started drag like 14 years ago, nearly, oh my God, 14 years. It was a very underground art form. We were the kind of weirdos of the scene. You know, we did drag, everyone loved us in the bar, but then in the day, no one knew who we were, which was kind of nice, because you had this kind of alter ego. But at the same time, you know, nobody wanted to date a drag queen, nobody wanted to be friends with a drag queen. But now, drag is everywhere. It's all over the TV, it's in theatres, there's brunches, there's bars. I mean, it is everywhere. You know, a lot of Drag Race fans will have never heard of Lily Savage, Danny LaRue, Charles Pierce, Jimmy James, legends of drag. And there is kind of I don't want to say it like a wall between older drag queens and younger drag queens. It's very slight, but sometimes, I mean, it's just happy, you know, things blow up and underground things become mainstream.
So I came up with the name Stacey Wrecked because I always found myself funny, not to be big-headed, but I do find myself hilarious. And I was searching on the internet one day for like pun names, and it come up and it just like shone out to me, and I thought, that is me. I am Stacey Wrecked. So I am 20 years old. I've been doing drag for 2 years. Half of it was spent during like the pandemic and the lockdowns, but I used that time to like just focus on my craft. Like I learned how to sew. I learned, I learned more makeup skills to make myself look even prettier. I'm a queen for photos. Like I love memories that you can hold. Like this photo, I've got a signed photo of the Vivian. It's a special place in my heart because it was the first ever gig I ever did outside of my hometown, and I had to win a drag competition just to like open for her. And I remember meeting her and I was so like transfixed. I was like, wow, like she won Drag Race. I was just like, I was so in awe, and she was so lovely and so like humble. And I had my crown on from winning the competition, and she was like, congratulations on your win. I was like, congratulations on yours too. Your crown's probably a lot better than mine. Being from a small town, you've got to fight that hard, like you've got to fight harder for the opportunities. Problems or like hardships that come with drag is like money. Like I spend like every penny that I make in going into like my drag, everything gets funneled back into Stacey. And sometimes like Lewis, like as a boy, gets left out because I put her to the front, but she is the one that makes the money, and it's trying to find that like that balance. Some queens just don't have the funds to like get extravagant costumes. Like, some of them have to resort to wearing like a £5 dress from like Primark or stuff. And what winds me up is like people see like Drag Race and see these amazing outfits and they think, so all drag queens should wear that, and it's like, no, that's what you should wear on Drag Race. Like, I know Veronica mentioned on Instagram after her Drag Race elimination how like she was struggling for money after because of the COVID pandemic, and then having to do season 2, then season 3, like just trying to find the funds and stuff. And I think people forget the money that goes into it, and they also forget like the pure work like that goes into getting into drag. Like people think, oh, you only work like 5-6 hours, but I do like 12 hours a day just coming in and getting ready and then getting out of drag. Like I spend more time in this dressing room than I do at my own house sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I honestly, I don't know what I'd be doing without drag. Like, I'd say drag saved my life, because before drag, I was a bit lost, but now I feel like I've got a purpose.
Now, guys, we have had the pleasure of having one of the most fabulous divas of whole join us tonight. Stacey Erect! Make some noise for Stacey!
Drag Race UK has created opportunities for queer performers and for drag artists that never existed before. It's done an amazing and a wonderful thing, and I'm so excited to see that door is now opening to female identifying performers, to AFAB queens, to trans queens. It's wonderful to see that happening as well, because that diversity has always been in our scenes. I think what comes with that, and what always comes hand in hand with that, is that you have one hell of a lot more people doing drag. And in many ways, the way that you see drag working now in the UK, it resembles the wider model of reality television, and then the wider model that we have in our society that of even unregulated free market capitalism, you know what I mean? The people at the very top, the people at the apex of the pyramid, become the incentive for all of those people who you have creating art underneath. And whilst that is a great thing that it becomes an incentive to create, you're going to have a lot of people disappointed. And so whenever I meet new drag queens and people ask me, like, what is your big tip for drag? How do I become successful in drag? I always say, have something else. For 2 reasons. You'll need to survive, and not everybody can be on the show. Not everybody can make it big. That's the way that it's set up. But also because it makes your drag more interesting.
Hull, make some noise for the superstar that is Miss Stacey Erect!
Isn't that exciting? Sorry, I did that thing where I looked at the camera. Is that going to be awful?
Stacey, give me a clap in front of your face, would you? Yeah,
I'm a proper director now.
what's the future of pole lunch? I hope another 25 years, that's what I hope, even more. That's my biggest hope, that it stands for a long time and that it constantly moves with the times and it constantly updates itself and it constantly keeps regenerating, because that's what queer venues really need to focus on right now, is the constant change that's happening. When it comes to new pronouns, when it comes to all this kind of stuff, you need to stay up to date. You can't stay in the past. Like, you need to walk with the community. I really hope that Polo continues to do that and creates a safe space for a long time to come.
At its heart, drag is queer expression. It's not meant to be necessarily palatable. It's not meant to be beautiful, or it's not meant to, in a way, please straight people.
What I think really characterises UK drag is that anarchic punk pantomimic sense. I feel like we're not always polished look-wise, so I think that performance and comedy and not taking yourself too seriously, but quite a punky nature, is the heart of UK drag for me.
We're queer storytellers. Our history comes from being in a marginalised community. Our purpose, if you like, is to amplify people who are not amplified.
Drag Race, and it's given us a platform that we can either sit on and enjoy, or we can invite other people onto it, and other people can use that as well. Drag Race queens are very little, really. We've had 3 seasons in the UK, what's that, 30 queens? There's plenty of room for everyone else.
I think the general public have a more expansive view about what drag is, who can do drag, and all of that. Shout out to Victoria Scone, changing the world.
I think the idea of drag being this stale kind of dressed as a girl, only drag queens kind of idea is something that maybe existed in the past. But as we go forward, I think we're going to start seeing way more playing around with not just like femininity, but masculinity, gender blurring, you know, gender queer, kind of gender fluid identities. So many performers are non-binary, you know, and that's a really integral part of like who they are and how they express themselves. And so I think it's just going to kind of go in all directions.
It is punk rock, it is political, it is about questioning the status quo and standing up to heteronormative values in our world. I think if we lose that, drag will kind of lose its meaning. So I hope that that is always remembered as drag continues to grow and take over the world.